Hi, and welcome to Deb's True Crime Notebook. I want to point out that as I'm reading, there are mistakes in the document that I'm about to read to you from the defense. We have seen this all along, the sloppiness, no proofreading, no double checking, and I think that's indicative of what's going on with the defense. So I will point that out to you, and I'll read it as they have written it, and then I will correct it. So here we go. State of Indiana versus Richard M. Allen, defendant's additional Frank's notice. Comes now the accused Richard Allen by and through the counsel Andrew Baldwin and Brad Rosie and files the following additional information to supplement the Frank's motion and memorandum previously filed with this court on, here's a mistake, October 18th. They meant September 18th, 2023. In support of said notice, the defense states the following. 1. That on September 18, 2023, the defense filed its motion for Frank's hearing as well as a memorandum in support of said motion. 2. That since filing that motion, the defense has received new discovery that strongly supports the defense's belief that Tony Liggett and Unified Command attempted to conceal from Judge Diener and has since even attempted to hide from the defense, that evidence supports that those practicing Odinism were the murderers of Abby and Libby. 3. Specifically, Tony Liggett swore under oath at his August 8, 2023 deposition that a Purdue professor did not believe that the sticks found around Abby and Libby's bodies consisted of ruins. Liggett's deposition, pages 74-77, as a reference. Furthermore, number 4, Sergeant Jerry Holman swore under oath at his August 10, 2023 deposition that a Purdue professor said that the sticks found on the girls did not represent Odinism or any type of cult worshiping or any type of a group that would have conducted the crime. Holman, deposition, page 63, lines 10 through 20, as a reference. 5. Because of the findings of this Purdue professor, the Unified Command claimed to have essentially abandoned the Odinism aspect of the investigation into the murders of Abby and Libby. Number 6. In response to the defense request to depose this Purdue professor on September 6, 2023, the prosecutor, Nick McClellan, told the defense via email, as stated before, we are trying to identify the Purdue professor, but no luck yet. Detective Holman has reached out to the FBI and Purdue and has not gotten any response yet. We will continue our endeavors, but may not be able to identify him or her. 7. However, on September 19, 2023, the day after the Frank's memorandum was filed, where it was revealed that the Purdue professor was missing, miraculously Jerry Holman found the professor, whose name is Jeffrey Turco, and interviewed him. 8. However, in the interview, Jerry Holman apologized to Turco for the 3 to 4 weeks that it took him, Holman, to sit down and talk with Turco. This means that Holman was aware of the Purdue professor's identity since mid to late August, but nonetheless told Nick McClellan that Unified Command could not locate the Purdue professor, and furthermore, that they may not be able to ever find the Purdue professor. 10. However, after it was obvious that the Purdue professor would probably out himself as the missing Purdue professor following the Frank's memorandum, Holman went and interviewed the Purdue professor the day after the Frank's memorandum was filed. Why would Holman and the Unified Command try to hide the name of the Purdue professor, even risking ridicule for the absurdity that they could not remember his name? The answer is obvious once the tape statement was played. A. Dr. Turco stated that after viewing the pattern of the sticks on the girls that, quote, it was a given that someone was trying to replicate a Germanic runic script. B. Furthermore, Dr. Turco consulted with a colleague from Harvard who had even more knowledge of ruins, and this Harvard professor was in agreement with Turco. C. Furthermore, Dr. Turco stated that Odinism is an extreme neo-pagan, neo-heathenism ideology that has right-wing racist connotations. D. Furthermore, Dr. Turco stated that according to the 19th century sources, the Vikings practiced ritual killings and sacrifices. E. Furthermore, Dr. Turco stated that although he could not necessarily interpret these ruins, that the stick configurations were pretty clearly runic, and that he could certainly imagine that this was somebody's idea that when you do human sacrifice, you carve ruins. There are some poetic sources that would sort of support that idea that somebody might have come across. That scenario seems entirely plausible to me, unquote. F. Furthermore, Dr. Turco discussed how ruins were thought to have the magical significance and would be used in incantations and rituals, and that there is a sacrificial connection in mythological poetry. These were things, again, where somebody who was sort of an Odin fanboy would likely come across. Moving on to 12. That on September 8th, September 18th, September 21st, and September 27th, 2023, the state of Indiana made available to the defense a total of 14 hard drives, 5 flash drives, 3 disks, and what appeared to be hundreds of pages of paperwork. 13. Particularly contained in the state of Indiana's September 27, 2023 evidence drop was a thumb drive that contained an interview of Jeffrey Turco, not marked as a Purdue professor. 14. It seems apparent by the timing of events that Tony Liggett and Unified Command knew the Purdue professor's name and wanted to hide his name and his findings from the defense, as Turco's conclusions supported the defense and opposed the prosecution and Liggett's and Holman's sworn statements. Therefore, apparently in what seems like a complete harebrained scheme, Holman and Liggett decided to claim that they did not know the professor's name, hoping that this would put an end to the defense looking into the Purdue professor. However, once the memorandum made it clear that the Purdue professor would certainly be found at some point in time, it took Holman 1 day to locate Dr. Turco and interview him about his findings of 2017. 15. Again, Franks requires a preliminary finding that law enforcement has intentionally or with reckless disregard for the truth when being accused of concealing evidence from the judge who signed the warrant. It would be difficult to find a more outrageous set of facts to support that Liggett and the Unified Command intentionally concealed the Odinite information from Judge Diener. If Liggett and Unified Command were willing to try to get away with concealing a Purdue professor from defense counsel, then it is easy to see that they would have no problem concealing all the evidence detailed in the Franks memorandum from Judge Diener as well. Wherefore, defense counsel respectfully files his additional Franks notice and would request that the court factor in this new filing into its ruling on the defense request for a Franks hearing. Respectfully submitted, Andrew J. Baldwin, attorney for defendant, Bradley A. Rosie, attorney for defendant. Certificate of service. I certify that I have served a copy of this document by the county e-filing system upon the Carroll County Prosecutor's Office. This blank, left blank, day of September 2023. Signed by Brad A. Rosie, also signed by Andrew J. Baldwin. I will tell you that this document was not easy to read. It's full of mistakes, typos, left out dates, etc. And also full of a lot of phrases that seem very unprofessional in my opinion. Having said that, does this information need to be looked into? Absolutely, 100%. There were some things that stood out to me as I read that I felt could possibly be meant to deceive anyone who's reading this. The first thing that you're looking at here is supposed to be a quote from Dr. Turco. It says, A, Dr. Turco stated that after viewing the pattern of the sticks on the girls, that, quote, it was a given, unquote. Then it goes on to say that someone was trying to replicate Germanic runic script. Why was there not a complete quote there? If the doctor said it was a given that someone was trying to replicate that ruined script, why was it not an actual quote of the full statement the doctor made? To me, I wonder about that. Let me know what you think in the comments. And the last thing that really stood out to me was F. Furthermore, Dr. Turco discussed how runes were thought to have magical significance and would be used in incantations and rituals, and that there's a sacrificial connection to the mythological poetry. These were things, again, where somebody who was sort of a Odin fanboy would likely come across. That comment fanboy stood out to me very strongly, as if the doctor was saying, this looks like the work of someone who was a wannabe. Let me know what your thoughts are on this entire document, and I'll look forward to reading them in the comment section. Thanks for watching Deb's True Crime Notebook. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment.